Right, so we're a little bit late, but we're live. Hello, hi, how are you, etc., etc. Welcome to our Tech Happy Hour live stream. Let me just get our show notes up because that would be important. Ooh, everything just disappeared. That's great. All right, cool. Here we go. So, welcome. This is our Tech Happy Hour, which we are doing 5 p.m. every weekday. It is 100% free of charge, where we answer your tech questions for you. Yes. I'm just waiting for a reply to a message here. Where do we start? So, first up, if you missed it before, if you weren't familiar, well, like I said, we're here 5 p.m. every weekday. What else is there? If you would like to ask us a question, there is no such thing as a dumb question. So you can get in touch with us by any of our contact details. Can't talk today. It's great. At www.the.mill.com/contact, you can find any of our contact details and get us a message or question any way you want. Alternatively, you can actually join the live stream if you want. There's a link in the description under each live stream for that. Usually, I think I missed yesterday's though. But if it's not there for any reason any other day, I made sure it was there today. You can send me a message or send us a message and I'll send it back to you, or leave a comment, sorry, and I'll just get in touch and I'll make sure that gets to you. So today, hopefully you have a drink. I have a drink. Lime creaming soda of some kind apparently today. It's not that bad. That's because obviously I'm at work, so my drinks are non-alcoholic, although I don't drink personally anyway. If you do, that's, up to you. You can do that, but please drink responsibly. I'm not encouraging alcoholism here in any way, shape, or form. So, anyway, today we've got a few questions to cover. First of all, the stress test on budget build computer from last week. That's running at the moment, so it hasn't crashed, so that's doing well. There is something I am going to have to try on that, though, because I just got a message before about this. So let me start looking into that. We have some other questions relating to that. Actually, most of the questions are relating to that, and then some actual specific questions. Anyway, look, let's get started. So, look, the results for the budget build stress test thing. Here we go. Budget build stress test results. So, I run memtest 86, which ran 4 passes, which is the default number of passes, and it passed with flying colors, no problems, no hassles, nothing, didn't break a sweat, that was fine. So yes, if you want to get that one, then hang on a second. Let's bring this up for you all. Share screen, we'll go that one, there you go. So, memtest 86, which is memtest86.com, because, that's creative. This was the one, after that though, if you've been following me personally on Instagram, you would have seen how this went. So memtest 86 was first, then the next one I ran was Prime 95. I just got a message from someone before, one of my friends, saying apparently Prime 95 is not doing well on some of the later AMD Ryzen CPUs and may actually be causing damage, which was why yesterday I also recommended Intel XTU for Intel processors. So I'm just trying to find a suitable stress test now instead of that. I personally have never had a problem with it on an AMD CPU, but apparently it can potentially be a problem, so maybe we'll look at something else. I've had this recommended to me. This is a good one for actually testing. Here we go, for testing your CPU and comparing to others, so good benchmark. And this one is Cinebench. Let me go back a page. Cinebench, which will actually, let me run it for you. Let me see if my computer will hold up to streaming and doing this at the same time. So basically what it will do is it will render an image and it will actually gauge your CPU performance while doing that, whenever that starts. And like I said, I don't know how this is going to go with the live streaming at the same time. I don't know if it's going to make the live stream stutter and drop out a little bit, or if it's just going to run and be happy, but we shall see. But look, that's basically what it does. Use CPU usage, and like I told you all the other day, you can see CPU usage in your task manager. CPU usage, all cores or logical processors to 100%. Basically, it will just render that image as fast as possible. So we'll see how that goes. But as for actual stress testing, I don't believe it has that feature. Oh, minimum test duration in seconds. Maybe we can do that. All right. So what I'm doing now is I'm downloading to a USB stick. So we're on that on this as well live, just because we can. So why the heck not? So yeah, Cinebench R20, which is just release 20. Apparently you can use that for CPU stress testing. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. So that's an alternative to Prime 95. Maybe we'll just go with avoid Prime 95 in general. Let's just go with that. But we'll test that and make sure. And then the GPU test or video card test, which is running right now, is furmark, or the furry donut. And yeah, that's been running for over an hour, and yeah, it hasn't crashed. So I assume that's good as well. Let me just check. Hang on, before we do that, one thing that I do want to say from yesterday, though, is that I recommended MSI Afterburner for monitoring temps. For a computer that you may not necessarily be keeping, I was trying to limit the amount of software that we install on it, so I decided to look for an alternative instead, even though I have used that in the past. Open Hardware Monitor will actually monitor all your temps and voltages and give you a bunch of stuff. I'm not sure if it will give you graphs. I didn't look into that. Let me just check that. Oh yeah, show plot. Okay, you can. Oh, hang on, my microphone's over here. You can get it to show that for you as well if you want to. So yeah, so that may be a viable alternative to MSI Afterburner if you want to use that instead. And that is actually a question that somebody did ask. Obviously, didn't watch the live stream yesterday, but what program can I use to monitor temperatures of my computer? I've just given you two: MSI Afterburner and this one. MSI Afterburner is a good one if it's your computer and if you're okay with installing software on it, or if you just want to run it, then Open Hardware Monitor does pretty well as well. They're the recommendations. So yes. Moving on from that, the other thing too then is, well, there is actually a name for applications that you can run like without oh look, Cinebench is done, without installing them on your computer, and those are called portable apps. The idea of that is that there is no installation required. You can put it on a USB stick or something else, however you want to get it to the computer. Put it on a CD if you really want to, I guess, copy it and then just run it without actually installing anything. And that's the preferred way I like doing things on computers that aren't mine. There's a bunch of portable apps you can get. A lot of apps have versions, like portable versions of the actual app, so that you can run, like I said, without installing. So that's always helpful. What else? So Cinebench is done. We can close furmark now, so just bear with me a minute while I do that. All right, close that. Now, this is my stress testing USB stick that I've been using today. So we're going to load up Cinebench onto that and repeat the CPU stress test. So if we wanted that to run for, say, half an hour, so 60 seconds by 30, we want that to run for 1800 seconds. Yes, I did just use a calculator to do that. All right, so we can stop that for now. Should have that downloaded by now. There we go. Let's get that across. And then we will have some stress testy fun. That didn't sound right. Anyway. Come on. Well, while that's copying, let's move on to the next question. This was actually a very specific question, and one that my wife has been asking me for like a week. I think it's a week. Anyway, since I built the new computer for our daughter, well, our youngest daughter, basically, story is we had a computer set up for her. Turns out it was too slow, so then we had to, I had to build another computer in replacement for that. And I just, like, these computers that they're using are just bits and pieces of computer here that are left over that I've thrown together. I think I repeated myself there. But anyway, you get the idea. They're just like, they're not the cutting edge, latest and greatest computers. If you want specs, it's like an i7 820, I think. 830, something like that. 8 gig of RAM, just DDR3, 60 gig Intel SSD, and a GeForce 7100 GS, which if you, 7100, 7300, 7100, I'm pretty sure. If you know anything about video cards, that's really, really, really old. Anyway, so look, this is the website in question. If I can get my screen back up. This one. And I would imagine that a lot of parents right now are dealing with this website. I don't actually have login details for it, but you've probably seen this before. Reading Eggs. That one. Yeah, if you have school kids, your school kids are probably using this in some way, shape, or form, I would imagine. Or maybe that's just the schools that I've heard of and been in contact with. But anyway, it's a fairly widespread website. It's full of videos and animations and sounds and stuff like that, all the stuff that keeps the kids interested. So yeah, that was running really, really, really slowly on her computer. But as far as I could see, I'm pretty sure it was intermittent. So sometimes it would do it, sometimes it wouldn't, sometimes it would be faster, sometimes it would be slower. So we ran through at first I thought it was just server overload because there's so many people using it at the moment, because the area that we're in, the state of Queensland in Australia, all schools are doing remote learning, so school from home stuff. So I imagine there's a lot of people on this, but it kept happening. So we looked into that a little bit further the other day. I did what I showed you how to do, what I showed you all how to do the other day to monitor your system performance, and it wasn't breaking a sweat. Like, all these things were like hardly moving at all. Hang on. So yeah, the next thing was like, well, okay, it's running fine on the computer next to it, which was our oldest daughter's computer, but not this one. So we're like, well, what's the problem with it? And by this one, I mean her computer, not mine. I haven't even tried it on mine, but I'm sure it would be fine. Yeah, so we had to start looking at other things. And as it turns out, there is an option in Chrome, because like I said, the video card is so old. There is an option in Chrome. Where is it? System? Yeah, here. Use hardware acceleration when available. Basically, had to turn that off. I'm not going to do that on this computer because it doesn't need that. But basically, Chrome has the ability to use your video card to help render whatever is being shown. So whether that's like videos or animations or whatever, Chrome can use your video card to help process that. So we turned it off. So no hardware acceleration or processing. Processor usage spiked then a little bit when using Reading Eggs. So before, it was about probably somewhere between 8 and 15% when it was being used, like with the hardware acceleration enabled. When you disable that, then it passes all the processing back to the processor, and it has to deal with everything. So then CPU usage or processor usage went up to, I think it was somewhere between 15 and 28%. Still not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but yeah, it was a lot smoother after that. Yeah, it's what happens when you use leftover bits and pieces of computer. And yes, my wife figured that one out. So she didn't want to come on the live stream and say that for some reason, but I'll say that publicly. It's fine by me. Anyway, Cinebench is copying over now. So yeah, so that was a very specific question and took a little bit to track down, but yeah, that can be a problem apparently. It's weird things like that. Like, it probably only applies to a very small amount of people, but when you've got a problem with it, you've got a problem with it and it needs to be fixed. All right, come on. We're at about 90% copying over. Maybe I'll see. Actually, no, it's going to be fairly quick. You know what? I'll throw another question in there. So turning off startup apps. So if your computer, I've been talking the last few days about your computer running slowly. If there's applications that start up all the time that you don't want to come up, actually the biggest one that I see on people's computers is Spotify. Like from the get-go, automatically when you, oh great, Spotify is updating. Cool. Here we go. I won't subject you to my music. I'll wait until we have some settings up. So once you open Spotify, there we go. Okay, so once you open Spotify and then go to your preferences, so you go to the dots up the top here, go edit, and then preferences. All the way down the bottom, you've got, well, actually, sorry, hide advanced settings. Usually you've got advanced, show advanced settings. If you go into show advanced settings, here, startup and window behavior. Open Spotify automatically after you log into the computer. No. We don't want that, so that can go away. But generally speaking, if like you actually have to log into Spotify before you can change that option, as far as I found. I haven't found a way or seen a computer yet where you can modify that, unless that changed in the update that I just did. But the other way is you go to Task Manager, so right-click your taskbar, go to Task Manager, and then you can go to your startup list, which is a tab up the top, and you can enable or disable whatever apps you don't want to start at startup. So say, for example, I don't want the Epic Games launcher. Actually, yeah, I don't want that to start up at startup. You right-click that and you go disable, and it won't start up anymore. Well, at least not when you start the computer. So, that is actually running. Should probably disable that. But generally, your first port of call, if you can, is to always go to the application. Oh, look, I have to sign in for that too to be able to disable it, do I? Oh, no, here. Settings icon down the bottom, untick run when my computer starts. Ta-da! Your first port of call is always to go to the app that is starting and see if there's an option to turn it off. Like, for example, if you weren't using your, where is it? I can't even find it now, but usually there's a utility for your audio. Oh, here we go. Your audio devices. So say this one, your Realtek HD Audio Manager. Don't tell me this doesn't have the option. Settings, option. Here we go. Display icon in notification area. There we go. Bye. And now, well, you can't see it, but that's gone. So that's one less program that starts up now. Stuff like that. This comes under general maintenance kind of stuff, but yes, I'll add that to the list of questions that we've answered for today. All right, so we now have a Cinebench application ready to go. So let's go back to Budget Computer and try and run that. So we will open our open hardware monitor first so we can see CPU load and CPU temperature while we do this. Actually, you know what? We don't need that screen now. I don't have a camera on this screen though, unfortunately, so I can't actually show you that close up because I wasn't planning to do any of this, but it's happening. So, yeah. Hardware monitor. It's done. All right, Cinebench. Whenever it's good and ready. Here we go. All right. Now, file, preferences. We want this to run for a minimum of 3,600 seconds. It's about an hour. So that can run and that will monitor, and then we'll see what happens. Hopefully this works. If this works, then I guess we'll change recommendations to that for CPU stress testing, seeing as there are apparently a few CPUs out there that have a problem with Prime 95. I haven't really found any of them yet, but just in case, we don't want to kill processors unnecessarily. So, yeah. Anyway, so we'll let that run. So while that runs, the next question I've got is, where do these pop-up notifications come from? So I don't know if you've been to websites and they ask you, like your web browser will ask you for permission on permission to send you notifications, which is quite rude, really. Well, I think it's quite rude. You've been to a website to find something or find information, and straight off the bat, it's just like, hey, we want to notify you all the time. Oh, get out of my face. Anyway, yeah, so then you'll get these little pop-ups. I don't think I actually have any to show you at the moment. Let's see if I can get one to show up on here. Tool settings. Anyway, if you want to turn those off, this is where you go. At least where I think you go. Appearance, notifications. Let's just search for notifications. This is in Google Chrome, which, as I mentioned yesterday, most people are using. Notifications, here we go, site settings. So if you go to site settings, sorry, let's start at the start then. So if you go to, where was it? Privacy and security. Privacy and security, and then site settings. There we go. Then notifications, then there's, I don't even know what half of those are. Weird. Probably advertising. But anyway, yeah, so these websites are not allowed. Oh, wait. I just realized I'm not showing my screen. Okay, let me just clean that up a bit, and then we'll come back. Let's try that again with feeling. So if you are in Google Chrome settings, which you get to by the dots up the top, 3 dots up the top, and then settings, then you go to privacy and security, and then come down to, where is it? Site settings there, notifications, and you can see I have blocked any notifications from Facebook because I don't want that in my face all the time. And I've allowed anything from basically Google, Gmail, Google Drive, that type of thing. Cool. Hopefully that'll get rid of those. Let's see. Let me just play with some settings and see if I can actually get something to come up to show you all. All right, so I'm going to try Instagram. All right, so nope, that hasn't worked. Let me. I think I got a little bit too trigger happy there and actually cut myself out of the stream. But anyway, we're back now. That was awkward. So let's get back to Instagram. Interesting. I can't actually get it to show up notifications. Oh well. I've shown you how to disable them if you have a problem with them. They're usually just a square, rectangle that comes up down the bottom from a website, something like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, but other websites can come up too. And I've had people ask about these previously, like before this one. And it looks like it's actually, people think they're legitimate, like they're from, I've seen some that look like error messages from Microsoft before. And they're not, they're just fake. Really weird. Cinebench is still running. Oh, past 2. Okay, that's good. That's going. What's our max CPU temperature so far? Max CPU temperature so far is 71.3 degrees. So that's not too bad. We'll keep that running and see how it goes. So, all right, we've done that question. All right, this one's going to be a big one. I just realized I forgot to bring up something about this before. All right, so this one is probably going to be a big one depending on how much detail I go into, but this one is how to solve any tech problem. And okay, that's probably a little bit too broad, but bear with me here and we'll go through this. So the idea behind this is that this probably won't solve every tech problem that you have, but it may help a little bit, if that makes sense. So it'll help you have a better understanding of basically what's gone wrong and then what to look at to fix it. That's the best way I can think of to describe it. Now, look, this particular thing that I'm going to bring up now, this is called the OSI model. Share screen, that one. There we go. Okay, so this is from Cloudflare's website. This is mostly in relation to network or like internet related things. So basically it breaks down everything that happens in networking and network transmission of data and stuff into the actual layers where stuff happens. And basically the way, at least that I apply trying to solve any tech problem, is you break it down into layers, because technology really does work in layers. For example, you sit down at the computer and the screen's blank, moving the keyboard or mouse doesn't do anything. It doesn't work, like there's nothing on the screen. First layer to look at is, do you have power? Like that's a very basic example, but basically you can work your way up from there. Does it have power? Yes or no. If it's got power, then look at what else may be going wrong with it, and then move up from there. So if it's got power, then how far does it get? Do the lights on the front come on? Like obviously for power, you've made sure it's plugged in. The power point at the wall is turned on, or on the power board or whatever you're using is turned on. So then from there, when you press the power button, does anything happen? Does it make any noises? Do any lights come on? Yes, no. From there, do you get any picture on the screen? If you get power, so you get fans and lights, but you get nothing on the screen, then you get nothing. So if it's got power, then how far does it get? Do the lights on the front come on? Yes, no. From there, do you get any picture on the screen? If you get power, so you get fans and lights, but you get nothing on the screen, then well, part of the power would be making sure the monitor's turned on. But if the monitor's turned on, you're still not getting signal, even though you get all the noises, then you've probably got a hardware problem because nothing is showing up at all anywhere. But if you get a picture, so if you get to the point where, like, it will give you the manufacturer of the computer or motherboard, like Dell or HP, or in the case of motherboard, like Asus, however you want to say that, MSI, Gigabyte, ASRock, whoever. But it won't actually get to the point where you can get to your desktop and then start doing things, then you've probably got a hard drive problem because it's not reading any data. Like you break it down into layers. In this instance, we're talking about networking. So layer 1 is physical. So usually you can tell, like, if it's not plugged in, it's not going to work. Well, I guess that doesn't really work for wireless anymore, does it? But, you break everything down into layers. And once you break it down into layers and understand a little bit of how it works, then that generally helps because, as I said a few streams ago, and we'll probably keep saying for a very long time, that knowledge is power. If you know how it works, then it's going to help you troubleshoot it. But that being said, if you don't want to look into to that sort of thing and learn how it works, like me, because for some reason I like pulling stuff apart and knowing how it works and making it work, and I'm not happy with it just working. I want to know how. Anyway, that's just me. If you don't want to do that, then there's people like us who will fix it for you, which is your other option, I guess. So how to fix any tech problem? Give it to someone else to deal with. That's still a viable solution. Yes. What else have we got then? If you have any questions about that, feel free to ask. Let me just check. Everyone's very quiet today. Don't know why. All right. Did I just... Nope, still there. Good. Okay, so next question on the list. I have a few more in-depth questions that I'm not really set up to answer yet, just because there's stuff that I want to show with them. If anyone has some basic questions, that would be good. Meanwhile, Cinebench is still running in the background. We're on a past 4 now, and we have a max CPU temperature of, we hit 80.3 degrees. That's actually not that bad. Apparently the limit is 95, so we've still got some room there. It's a little bit warm though. All right, so you know what? I don't have an actual demo for this one yet, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Where did that go? There. Okay, so using your digital SLR as a webcam. And the reason that this is a thing is because at the moment with people, we're slowly looking at returning back to normal, but for now, with a lot of people still working from home and having to do Zoom meetings and video conferencing and all that kind of thing, webcams are actually in high demand, and in most places, they've completely sold out. Some places that I was looking at are saying they're not getting stock of certain models till I think it was July. We're only at the start of May, so May, June, there's probably like a 2-month wait for some webcams before they come back into stock. Now, look, I've looked at this before because I have a digital SLR. I have a Canon EOS 7D, and I wanted to use that when we started live streaming sometime last year, the year before. Whenever we started live streaming with our retro gaming stuff to start with, that was on my personal channel, by the way, so that's different. But with that stuff, I was looking at using the digital SLR because obviously lenses and stuff, you can have very, very good picture quality out of those things. But the problem that I ran into and found was that that people mostly mentioned and had issues with was because you're using the camera sensor, so the thing that picks up the image inside the camera all the time, it's likely to wear it out by overheating it too much, by running it too much, basically. So, yeah, so that wasn't, there were ways to make it work, but it generally wasn't recommended. So, yeah, that was a thing. But like I said, for those who don't know cameras, my camera, the Canon EOS 7D, is actually fairly old. I've owned it for probably at least 7 years. So actually longer than that, 8, maybe 9 years. It's been a while. It's been a long while since I've had that. So it's not exactly a new model. However, thankfully, and this is only from the Canon side of things, I haven't looked into the Nikon side of things because I'm not a Nikon camera person. If you are, that's fine. I just don't want one. So we won't get into that because that's a whole different kettle of fish. Like the one we were talking about, the article we were looking at yesterday with people and what they argue with over technology. So, iOS or iPhone versus Android and all that kind of stuff. Let's not get into that argument again over cameras. But I have a link here, which I will share with you all because it may be helpful for some people. Basically, Canon, with the rise of people working from home and not being able to find webcams, have made available software. It's only in beta at the moment, so it's pre-release. It's not tried and tested yet, but software to use your digital SLR as a webcam. I have too many things open, but I need to find this to find the link for you all. You know what? Let's just Google it. Now, the thing is, though, that this is only supposedly available for much newer models. So maybe the whole thing that I started talking about with people being concerned about it overheating and overusing the camera sensor, that may have actually been taken care of in the later models. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know this for sure. This is just my theory. But look here. This is the website, which I will show you, and then I will send you a link in the comments. EOS camera EOS webcam utility beta. So the thing is, though, it's only available, like I said, on newer models. So the list of models is available on this web page, and here is the link for that. Apparently, it's only supported within the US, but there's nothing actually stopping anybody taking this and using it outside of the US. I saw someone in the UK was using it, someone in, I can't remember what other country, but there are other countries that it was being used in outside of the US. They just don't, well, it's beta software. They don't officially support it anyway. You may have to update your camera's firmware to make it work, but the point is it is available. The other thing too is that some of these models aren't available in our region, but that's just because they're a different name. For example, the EOS Rebel 3, I think, ended up being the Canon EOS 250D. Pretty sure that was the crossover. And the Rebel T7i, was it T6i? T6i, I think, was the Canon EOS 750D here in Australia. So not sure if they will work or not. Some people have reported success in getting this software to work in models that actually aren't listed here. So take that in any way you will. I'm actually looking for a newer model digital SLR to replace my 7D, which is having had some issues at some point. I'm not sure if they're still there or not. They may be gone now. Firmware update may fix that. I don't know. Either way, I'm looking for one of these compatible models. So yes, if you happen to be selling one of those, please let me know and I will consider that, because that could be helpful. Oh, interesting. How do I share this one? I just had an email come in before. So let's talk about this one, and let's talk about stuff in general in relation to this. So we can get rid of that now. If you wanted to know more about or download the software to use your Canon digital SLR as a webcam, the link should be in the comments below now. If not, then That's it there. And we'll take that off. But the email that I just got before, and all you non-Mac people can turn off now if you really want to, Apple's WWDC 2020. So WWDC is the Worldwide Developers Conference. And I'd heard rumors about this, but this seems to be the actual official announcement. And I always love these things because I like seeing what's coming up and what people are developing for the Apple platforms and Apple products, but that's probably just me because I'm a massive nerd, as witnessed here by my shirt. But anyway, look, the WWDC this year, and there's been a number of other events that I've seen, are going virtual this year by the look of it. So this says on June 22nd, WWDC 20 takes off. Get ready for the first global all-online WWDC by downloading the Apple Developer app to stay notified on all the news with updates for events and sessions. And there's a lot more to come, starting with the first ever Swift Student Challenge. I have no idea what that means or what that's talking about at the end there, but yeah, that's very interesting. With the whole thing where people have started working from home and people not being able to gather, it's interesting to see that a lot of other places and events have gone virtual as well, which brings a whole bunch of other challenges and stuff, which we never had to deal with before. Like, for example, live streaming. We didn't live stream, at least on this page, under this brand, as the Dot Mill before the whole coronavirus COVID-19 thing took off. Good thing we're not monetized, because apparently this came up the other day. If you mention coronavirus or COVID-19, your video cannot be monetized. On YouTube anyway. Not sure if you guys knew that or not. If you're not a YouTuber, probably doesn't affect you. But anyway, we do have another brand. We have a car side of the business, which is called 3P Garage. And we started doing live streams for that. Ahead of the punch, though. It was about, what was it? 3, 4, 5 weeks maybe before all the lockdown stuff started happening and we couldn't meet anymore, that we'd started doing live streams. So we were ahead of the game there, which was interesting. If you would like to know more about live streaming or want help with that, please send us your questions for that or contact us for help. Hopefully we can answer your questions and answer your questions live on live stream, which would be cool. But that seems to be like an Inception related thing. You've got live, you're on live stream talking about live streams. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that does my head in. So yes, WWDC virtual this year. That's interesting. Okay, I actually don't have any other questions prepared, like with prepared answers yet. And just because I've got questions listed that I am going to give answers to in future live streams. I just want to gather some more stuff to show with them. So examples or, other bits of info, or collect all the related questions together with the examples and whatever else. So we won't cover those today, but let me just have a look briefly if there was anything else. It's that one. I will actually touch on this one. So one of the things that we want to cover in future live streams is useful apps or services and how to use them. I would actually like to give a shout out, because we use this extensively. I would like to give a shout out to Evernote. And Evernote is massively helpful. Basically what it is it's a cloud-based service. And if you missed yesterday, cloud, it just refers to being on the internet and accessible via the internet. So it's a note-taking app. And as the name suggests, then you can keep it forever, really, on the cloud. So it's really cool because, as you can see in the picture on their website, you can then access it on your phone, on your computer, on everywhere you want. Basically, you update the note on one, and if you go then to the other device and access it, it's just there and updated. And it's really, really cool. I've been using it now for, I've lost count, at least since 2011. So what's that, 9 years? That's a long time. Or was it 2012? I'm pretty sure it was 2011. Yeah, it's been a long time. I have thousands and thousands and thousands of notes in here. There is a free level of access, which I've used. I've never actually paid a cent for it because I don't need the premium features, or haven't found it. Like, I found that I can work without them. Or, yeah, try it out. It's really cool. We're also using it to share our show notes and stuff like that, and production notes and schedules and whatever else we're trying to do with live streams and videos, which we're way, way, way behind on now anyway. I've got like 4 live streams, 4, 3. I've got a bunch of live streams to cut up and do stuff with that I just haven't got to yet, but all the information is there and it's all shared thanks to Evernote. By the way, they're not a sponsor. I don't get a kickback for this or anything like that. It's just a service that I use and find very, 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 very helpful. I did try to transition to OneNote, which is Microsoft's offering, for a little while, and I did not find that as good as Evernote. No offense to Microsoft, just Evernote had it down pat a lot better than they did. OneNote still works on a file basis, which is then synced by either some kind of SharePoint service, so corporate level service, or Microsoft's OneDrive service. And I do actually use OneDrive, but we'll talk about that another day. And yeah, I just didn't like it, just because it's still stored as a file, whereas Evernote is actually seeming to store the notes as notes. You don't have file level access to that. I'm probably nerding out a little bit too much there, but as you can see, well, it's gone to sleep. Well, the monitor's gone to sleep, but as you can see, I've been nerding out a little bit today with all this stress testing business and stuff. It's not making me feel any less stressed, but yeah, I guess, wait, stress test would imply stress adding. Either way, it's not really helping me any, but it is good. Actually, you know what? I take that back. It is good to know that the computer does work and work well under load. So that's good. Let's see what our max temperature is now. Still 80.3. We're currently at 70.9 though, so we're not too bad. Cool. Yes. What else can we answer for you today? You know what? We might as well keep going with the cloud-based services. So the other one that I'm not using so much at the moment, but is also very, very helpful, and a lot of people do use, is Dropbox. Dropbox is basically also a cloud-based service, the whole topic that we're on to now, where you can use to sync your files. So you can sync your files between all your devices and access them from anywhere because it's cloud-based, as long as you have an internet connection. Dropbox is actually really, really very easy. I mentioned just before that I use OneDrive. The one reason that I use OneDrive over Dropbox is because you actually get, with the Microsoft, or with most Microsoft Office subscriptions, especially the business ones, you get 1 terabyte of cloud storage as well through OneDrive. So we're paying for a Microsoft Office subscription so that we can have Microsoft Office on all our computers. So we might as well use the OneDrive subscription as well, because we've got 1 terabyte of cloud storage there to use with that, and it doesn't cost us any extra on top of said subscription. But that being said, if it wasn't for that Dropbox, we would probably be using Dropbox instead. But we'd just rather not pay for 2 subscriptions because we're already paying for the other one, like I mentioned. Dropbox does have some advantages to OneDrive, though. The big thing that I've found with OneDrive, as far as I've seen reported, is that the contents of OneDrive aren't encrypted. So that means that anybody, well, Microsoft really can scan through what you've got and stuff. I'm pretty sure it was the only service that isn't encrypted now. There is a tool out there to encrypt whatever you put on OneDrive or any cloud-based service, which I will probably cover in a future live stream, but I won't touch on that one today. Dropbox is the focus here. Dropbox was one of the first, or earliest and widespread, early and widespread solutions for syncing files. Again, not sponsored by these guys, no kickback from these guys, just a service that I find particularly helpful. I do still use it somewhat on a personal level to store files. Yeah, just not for business because of the reasons that I just explained. The one really cool feature that Dropbox has over OneDrive, though, is LAN sync. So if you have say my computer here and one of the other computers over there and one of the other computers over there, or even if I install it on the computer back here and you sign in with the same account, instead of having to download all your files from the cloud again and use up a whole bunch of internet bandwidth or data usage if you're on not if you have a set amount of data that you can use every month, it will sync between them. It's a lot quicker then. And yeah, like I said, you don't use up your data allowances or data caps if you have one, which I thought was really, really cool. I really wish they'd bring that to OneDrive. Let me just check and make sure they haven't brought that to OneDrive. It's been a while since I checked. OneDrive LAN sync. Is there LAN sync in OneDrive? That was from 2017, 2014. I don't believe there is. Wait, 2019, March. Yep. Someone recommended Dropbox. Okay, the solution for that seems to be SharePoint, which we won't touch on because that's a corporate level thing or business level thing. So anyway, that probably won't apply to most people. So yes, Dropbox, highly recommended. And you know what? Seeing as we're doing it, we might as well keep rolling with it. Another cloud-based service that I use that I've just started using a lot more. This one is called Trello, and I found a lot of entrepreneurs. I always struggle to say that word. Apparently, the second R is silent. Entrepreneur. Anyway, basically, it's tasks and collaboration. So you can easily organize tasks. You get a list, and then you have cards within the list, and you can move them between each other and stuff. And I'm actually using it for my to-do lists now. Again, it's cloud-based, so your data goes with you pretty much anywhere. Apparently, you can integrate it in other apps. I've only started just playing with it now, or recently, like the last week or so. I was using it on and off before then, but now I'm getting more into it. So, yeah, I find it's very easy to organize stuff in there, and it's helping me to keep more organized than I have been, which is great because I feel like a chook with my head cut off some days. Yeah, I'd highly recommend that. Let me see what else we can recommend for you and what else I use personally. Oh, the big one. Okay, so we're going to cover backup another day, but I would just like to make mention because the biggest thing that I found that when people want data recovered or want their computers fixed, the number one thing that people ask for or want to get back or really don't want to lose, basically, is their photos. Because, well, that's the memories of your life, really. And if you want to remember something, then you take a photo of it. A lot of us do that for notes now. If you don't want to write something down, just take a photo of it and keep it for later. Anyway, so let me make this recommendation to you because I've been making this recommendation to a lot of people for a long time now. Google Photos. And if you have a Google account or Gmail email address, you already have this as part of your account. So the thing is, though, it doesn't cost anything. There are two options when you upload photos to Google Photos. You can have your original quality, so the full size file, or what they deem to be high quality, which I think is up to 18 megapixels. Where's the info? Might not actually tell us. Nope. Okay, it's not going to tell us, but I'm pretty sure it's 18 megapixels. So most of us aren't taking photos that big anyway. It does take out a little bit of the quality, apparently, but I've seen a comparison where a photographer actually picked apart an original photo versus the ones uploaded to Google Photos, and there wasn't actually a lot of quality lost. It was a bunch of stuff that can be removed, and you can't really see the difference anyway. I tell people it's fine unless you're going to blow it up to like billboard size. The quality that Google Photos stores at will be fine for anything and everything else you want to do. I've printed photos from here and it's been fine. Once again, like the other services, no kickback for this, no like monetary incentive, not sponsored by Google to mention this, just something that I use personally and that I highly recommend to all of you, because even if you have an iPhone, you don't have an Android phone, it doesn't matter. You can still use that. I use an iPhone. This is my iPhone. See? And yeah, I use this to back up my photos so that I can access them on any of my devices after that. So yes, don't be scared by the fact that, it's not an Apple thing. So you don't have to use PhotoStream or iCloud Photos or whatever you want to use. You can actually use Google Photos on an iPhone and it is still free. The thing is, with the free thing, at high quality, not original quality, there is unlimited storage. You can back up as many photos and videos as you want to your Google Photos account. The other thing too is that you can set it to back up automatically. So I think it's like every few days, if you don't open the app, it will automatically back up your photos from your phone or tablet or whatever device you have on it. There's also a program that you can install on your computer, so then it can monitor folders as you put photos in there if you want to do it that way, or if you have a digital SLR like we were talking about before that you're not using as a webcam, or that you are using as a webcam and transferring photos off, you can do that as well. So yeah, basically I use it to keep all my photos safe and backed up to somewhere. That's my recommendation. Like I said, no kickback, no sponsorship or anything like that, but hopefully it will help you. I've installed it and set it up for a number of people and it's been very, very helpful to them. It's basically brainless backup. I kind of like it for that, just for that. Anyway, somehow we made it to an hour. I have no idea how we did that, because I was running out of questions halfway through, because I should have done more prep. I just didn't think it was going to take that long to answer all of those questions. Hiccup. All right. So look, we do this 100% for free. We're not charging you anything to answer your tech questions. Look, we don't ask anything in return. Like I said, 100% for free. But what we are asking is that you help us to help you. So please help us to help you by spreading the word. Like and share our stuff. Hopefully get other people to come and ask us their questions or send us their questions. And yeah, we want to answer your tech questions. We just need you to help that. We're not charging anything. We're not asking for any money. Just help us to help you and help spread the word. But look, we'll be back tomorrow from 5 p.m. for Tech Happy Hour, as with every weekday at 5 p.m. Like I said, 100% free of charge. We'll answer all of your tech questions, or to the best of our ability. We may have to come back to some of them, but hopefully we can just answer them straight up for you. If you want to, you can get in touch with us and send them to us at www.thedotmail.com/contact. Wait, no, this one. There's no such thing as a dumb question either. So get in touch with us and ask www.thedotmail.com/contact. I think I've done enough talking for now. Yeah, please send us your questions, and we hope that you join us for one of our future live streams. Otherwise, yeah, have a good night. Thanks. Bye. Okay, now bye.